And our top stories tonight. COVID-19 has not affected Barbados' supply chains for food or manufacturing inputs. A new piece of equipment to remove seaweed acquired. Former educator, senator and administrator Dame Patricia Simmons has passed. And sports too has lost motor racing stalwart and long-standing BOA director Ralph Burgadown Johnston.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Very good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. In our top story tonight, Barbados' global supply chains for food and manufacturing inputs have not been interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Word of this from Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, Marcia Cattle. She was speaking during a webinar hosted by Grow Local Caribbean, a platform which provides regional businesses with resources needed to expand. The topic was the future of the Caribbean, sustainable supply chains, trade and agriculture.
The interesting thing is that we didn't see perhaps what would be expected interruptions to the supply of inputs to manufacturing. And as Floyd said, we also saw some opportunities, for example, in the area of pharmaceuticals and the manufacturing and export of pharmaceuticals for the Barbadian manufacturers and exporters of some of those products, because other nearby supply chains had been interrupted. But I would say that globally, we've not seen the impact that perhaps some would have anticipated.
Well, Minister Cattle believes one of the key lessons to take away from the pandemic is that food security is not so much of a challenge as is nutrition security. She explains the globalization of supply chains has meant that cheaper products on the market in small islands like Barbados are not the most nutritional.
And so the conversation that we're having in Barbados is not just about supply and food security and making sure that we have, if not a local, but a regional CARICOM level approach to that, but also how do we bring about nutrition security? And what we're finding more and more is that actually the COVID-19 pandemic provided a great opportunity for that, because people started to focus quite a bit more on buying local, buying from local farmers. There has been a real galvanizing of support of local markets, and we want to continue to build on that and to make sure we don't lose that momentum.
More people have recovered from COVID-19 and are leaving isolation today. 5 people have left the government-run facility. This means that only 9 people remain under observation for the respiratory illness. And in other good news, there are no new positive cases among the 150 tests done yesterday by the Besto Santos Public Health Lab, which has completed 5,039 tests. Of the 92 confirmed cases recorded since March 16th, 76 people have now recovered and 7 have died. While many Barbadians are still at home during the COVID-19 pandemic, hundreds of brave men and women are making a daily sacrifice to ensure that the country keeps running. We salute these Barbadians with our Newsnight series, On the Front Line.
Meet Danielle Curtin, a dedicated teacher of the Combermere School.
Online teaching has been an interesting experience. I teach math and science at the secondary level, which means that I have approximately 150 students that I have to engage with on a weekly basis. And these range from 1st to 6th form because we're still engaging with students doing exams. So the online teaching takes 2 levels where you actually have face-to-face meeting, but then it's also engaging with students outside of that time because we're also still giving them assignments. So if students have questions and those types of things, I try to respond to them in a timely fashion so that they get the response and the engagement that they require. The preparation for the online classes also is different to what occurs in the classroom. It takes a lot more preparation, especially engaging in online assignments. I've been using a lot of Google Forms so that students can get immediate feedback, but actually creating the Google form takes a lot of time. And then I also have a toddler, so it means that I do most of my preparation early in the morning or late at night, because during the day it can get a bit tricky with him. Teachers are working. We're working very hard. Most of my colleagues and persons that I know that are teaching are trying very hard to make sure they understand the technology and are trying their best to make sure that students are still engaged. So teachers are working. My name is Danielle Curtin, and I am on the front line.
A police officer is tonight nursing a gunshot injury. The lawman, whose name has not been released, was among a group who challenged an individual while they were on duty along Henley Road near Henley Plantation in St. John. According to acting public relations officer Sergeant Michael Blackman, the individual opened fire on the officers, injuring one of them in the process. The officer was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment. Now, lawmen are asking for help in finding the culprit, who they have described as short and stocky, of light complexion, and wearing a green and white t-shirt and short green pants. They also want anyone with information on the incident, which occurred around 11:45, to call the District C Police Station at 416-8200, Police Emergency at 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477, or any police station. The Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy has obtained special equipment to aid with the removal of the dreaded sargassum seaweed from local waters. It includes a seaweed harvester, which was launched this morning at the Barbados Coast Guard's HMBS Pelican Base. Our Rianne Phillips tells us more.
From as far back as 2011, wrasse of sargassum seaweed have been washing ashore here in Barbados on an annual basis. When that happened, several beaches were unrecognizable, deserted, and transformed into thick golden brown carpets with a pungent odor similar to rotten eggs. Now, Blue Economy Minister Kirk Humphrey says the chances of those past events recurring have been reduced thanks to this sargassum seaweed harvester.
Attached to this harvester is a conveyor belt that the seaweed is to go on and then be conveyed straight to the shore, so that we can still get the seaweed before it actually goes into the sand. And we get it when it's fresh, we get it when you can use it for more productive purposes. In total, the government of Barbados spent almost $300,000 acquiring these various pieces of equipment and shipping them to Barbados. We got lucky because in some cases, some of the equipment came from China. We got it in the nick of time. This machine came out of Canada, and I believe it's going to help us transform Barbados.
The Blue Economy Minister also says the harvester will be used along the west and south coast, while a different approach is being planned for the east coast.
The way that our east coast is, it's very difficult for anything to operate on the east coast, to be truthful. On the east coast, we're going to continue to use mostly manual labor. We have about 75 people who are trained in how to handle this seaweed. We're about to deploy another 50, or we're about to deploy 50 of that 75 to be able to start cleaning the seaweed off the east coast particularly. And one thing that we've been very conscious about is that we've sought to move the seaweed in a responsible way. So we never tried to move the seaweed and take all the sand. It was more about respecting one ecosystem and not trying to advance one at the detriment of another.
And as more seaweed is expected to be harvested, officials intend to use it wisely.
We are focused on using it for the production of substrates, for making various types of applications such as manufacturing of biocomposite materials, the production of biofuels, utilization of seaweed as a soil amendment, and development for marine-based fertilizers and ocean-based compost, and also to serve as a catalyst for marine biotechnology development. And that is one of the things that you're going to see a lot of happening going forward.
The seaweed harvester is expected to be deployed at different locations in the coming days. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Thanks, Rianne. As negotiations continue with respect to the proposed national meeting turn, a human resource specialist suggests sacrifices are needed in both the private and public sectors at this time. Brittany Brathwaite says efforts are ongoing to keep people earning while keeping an eye on macroeconomics. She shared the view on CBC TV 8's Morning Barbados.
The private sector really would have started the salary cuts or reductions a lot earlier than the government. I'm not intimately involved at all with the public sector negotiations and what's going on there. But as far as I've heard in terms of what the Prime Minister is saying, the total compensation will not change. What they will be doing is offering a percentage of persons' compensation via bonds, which is it is a good option for those persons who may not have proper, pension planning going on or proper savings, and having bonds relatively is a good idea.
Here is a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Cyberbullying. What can I do? Don't be ashamed to report a cyberbully. The Computer Misuse Act makes it an offense for anyone to send threatening, menacing, indecent, and obscene messages electronically that may cause harm to someone. This tip is brought to you in association with the Child Care Board and UNICEF, helping to protect our children while they surf the web.
Hundreds of stranded Jamaican cruise ship workers have finally arrived back home. Approximately 2,000 Jamaicans who have applied for re-entry through the JAM COVID app will have been repatriated by this week, CVM Television reports.
Two more cruise ships, Norwegian Cruise Line and Carnival Glory, have docked in Falmouth, with over 500 Jamaicans relieved to be home. CVM Live spoke with Mayor of Falmouth, Colin Gager. He says he's confident and happy with the Health Ministry's processing of passengers.
We are quite confident and happy how the Health Department is dealing with the removal of the passengers from the ship to their special hotel and how the testing is being done. This is being done in a way, and as you can see, we are all satisfied. We believe that yes, they want to come home because they have been out there a long time, but it has to be done in a controlled manner.
Gager says the town has seen a downturn in revenue and that alternative measures are going to be put in place in order to keep the tourism market afloat.
We are down about 58% in our revenues. We have to be looking at arranging our whole budget for the year, because what we think we will be taking in, it isn't there anymore. So we will be putting in some other measures that will be able to capture and to keep us afloat.
There were also mixed reactions from persons who were not pleased with arrivals in the parish.
With COVID-19 restrictions still in place, Guyana took celebrations marking its 54th anniversary of independence online. Among the activities, a virtual flag raising and cultural showcase. We hear more in this NCN News report.
The artists participating and others present congratulated the Ministry of the Presidency, Department of Culture, Youth and Sports for the initiative. Melissa Vanilla Roberts, the only female artist on stage, believed it created an opportunity to promote Guyana on a global scale. She noted that the idea was to bring love and happiness to those stuck at home during this pandemic.
It was good because I always want to just perform for the people and for them to just feel the love and the energy. And because it's independence, I do a lot of patriotic songs because I love Guyana so much. And this was my opportunity to not just perform for Guyanese, but to perform for people in the world, to show and talk about Guyana.
So happy independence, and in a setting like this, I would say it's an awesome idea. to come together to do a concert like this. Because now, actually, there are people who don't get to come to the shows. Now you have families could sit down and watch the artists and enjoy it. So to me, it's bigger than even if you ever had it outside.
Meanwhile, radio personality Malcolm Ferreira noted that technology made it happen for Guyana's 54th independence.
Technology has allowed us to do this in a manner that we could look at in the future, even when things get back to normal.
The agricultural and fisheries sector in St. Lucia has been dealt a significant blow due to the COVID-19 curfew and lockdown. More in this HTS St. Lucia report.
There are currently little or no markets available for farmers or fishers due to hotel closures. This is one of the blows dealt by the COVID-19 virus to the local agriculture sector. Farmers and fishers are also having difficulty obtaining crops and animal feed. Moreover, the 2-person per private vehicle rule has also affected labor inputs. Agricultural officials elaborated on the impact of the virus during a recent NTN interview.
Agriculture revenues on a monthly basis, revenues accrue to an amount of about $500,000, a little over that. And that means that the farmers and the fishers, those who provide the produce to the hotel industry, that revenue has not been coming in. So it has impacted the industry and the income of farmers. Overall, the main concern for everybody in all the subsectors, agro-processing, fishers, livestock farmers, crop farmers, they all say one thing: they want market access. They want to sell the produce, and it has impacted their revenue, the income stream. And that is the main concern for a lot of those persons.
St. Lucia's food and nutrition security came under the microscope as supply chains were disrupted due to the outbreak, and the question as to whether the island can feed its citizens in the likely event that borders were completely shut down and no products could be imported was raised. Upon implementation of the 24-hour curfew, the Agriculture Ministry assessed fruits and vegetables on the ground. According to Director of Agricultural Services, Aurea King, the analysis gave assurances that the country could sustain itself until September 2020.